So it was Dublin 216, Meath 113 at Croke Park. This is the match reaction, of course, after the game where Dublin have booked themselves into yet another Leinster Senior Football final after a 6-point win over Meath in a game that was certainly a lot closer than people expected. I think a lot of people expected Dublin to win this game by 10, 15 points, including myself. But in the end, it's turned out to be a 6-point game. And it was certainly a lot closer going down the home stretch. I mean, Meath brought it back, to within 3 points at one stage in what was a very strange and uncharacteristic performance from Dublin, especially in the second half. They scored more points in injury time than they did in the rest of the second half combined. In the first 35 minutes of the second half, they only scored 2 points, and then they scored 3 in injury time. It was just a very, very strange, lackluster, poor, dreadful second half performance by Dublin, in my opinion. Really, really odd, really, really strange. I can't really put my finger on it, to be honest. And I think, all this talk about Dublin's vulnerability and all this discussion that's been in the media, I haven't really bought into it too much, but having watched that second half performance, they're definitely, if you're a Mayo fan, if you're a Kerry fan, or even if you're a Tyrone fan, and maybe even a Kildare fan, maybe you're thinking we might have a chance. We might have an opportunity here against this Dublin team because, in the second half, the options coming off the bench, I think we brought on Sean Bugler and Colin Baskell. Colin Baskell's been brilliant with Ballybold St. Enda's for his club. It just hasn't clicked for him so far with the Dublin senior footballers. It just hasn't worked at all. He couldn't even get in the team under Jim Gavin. He barely got in the team under Desi last year. It just seems like because there's no other options there, that's the reason why we're bringing him off the bench. Sean Bugler came on and looked okay, but the options just aren't there for Dublin coming off the bench, and that would certainly be a big worry from a Dublin point of view at the moment. Meath just got tired at the end of the second half. They ran out of steam. You could tell they put so much into coming back. If that was a Mayo or if that was a Kerry, I mean, they would have came back. You know what I mean? And look, listen, maybe Dublin's approach would be a little bit different. Were they a little bit complacent? Were they a little bit arrogant in the second half at different times? Like Brian Fenton going for that goal opportunity. I mean, Brian Fenton was the man of the match, in my opinion, but, he has that opportunity at the start of the second half where he goes for a goal when it should have just been a point. It was a difficult angle. And with all due respect, Brian Fenton's a midfielder. He's not known for his goal-scoring opportunities or his goal-scoring prowess, should I say. But yeah, look, listen, in the end, it was 6 points. This is the match reaction, of course, as always. And yeah, I mean, just running through some of the big talking points in the game. Obviously, in the first half, a couple of different penalty shouts, to be fair. Meath probably should have had a penalty when Brian Fenton looked to bring one of the Meath lads down just inside the square. Dublin obviously got themselves a penalty through Brian Fenton being brought down. It looked a little soft, but I think it was a penalty at the end of the day. He was brought down in the end by Matthew Costello. There was no two ways about it. Obviously dispatched brilliantly by Cormac Costello, who was coming into this game in a little bit of pressure, missed a couple of penalties, of course, in the league. And Brian Fenton, obviously, or Dean Rock, obviously the free kick taker, place balls taker, came back into the team. Normally Dean Rock would be on that penalty, but Cormac Costello was the man to dispatch it pretty comfortably. And yeah, I know a lot of people were saying, oh, maybe it wasn't a penalty or this or that. For me, it was a penalty. And even if it wasn't a penalty, Niall Scully and Brian Howard had the ball. I actually wanted the referee to play on because I think we would have scored a goal anyway. So, and in the first half, we were brilliant. It looked like Dublin were back to their absolute best. Conor O'Callaghan was fantastic, scored a brilliant goal, hit 3 points. Paddy Small scored a brilliant point at one stage as well. Kieran Kilkenny, Dean Rock. Dean Rock definitely a bit rusty. A couple of frees dropped short, without doubt. But you'd have to say that, Dublin were in control in the first half. They were controlling the flow of the game, controlling the pace of the game, and Meath just couldn't live with Dublin at all. And it looked like we were getting the exact same game that we had last year and the year before. I thought Meath, I thought tactically in the first half, from Andy McEntee, that he got his tactics wrong. Now, look, listen, I know in the second half they done a tremendous job, but I thought in the first half, going toe-to-toe with Dublin in the way that they did, it was the same tactics they adopted last year. They got completely blown out of water. I know they want to get players like Cathal Hickey and Fionn Riley, Shane McEntee, very good half-back line. They're very good at getting forward. They cause a lot of problems for the teams they come up against. Against Longford, they were tremendous. But you could tell, Cathal Hickey and Fionn Riley at different stages, just fish out of water in the first half, running into tackles. And then, obviously, the space was there for Dublin to break on the attack. And they had too many stages. Dublin had too many opportunities with Conor O'Callaghan, kicking points without any pressure at all. And Meath were struggling in the first half. They really, really were. But it was a game of two halves, and it's kind of funny. The narrative, in my opinion, had the game have continued the way it would have been, is Andy McEntee the right man? Are Meath actually moving in the right direction? It's another game where they against Dublin where they haven't taken it to Dublin, tactically not set up right. But then in the second half, Dublin were just absolutely dreadful, and Meath really, really stepped it up. I mean, Matthew Costello got a goal. And it's mad what happens when you play with a bit of confidence. And Meath are just one of these teams that when they have no confidence, it seems to go completely wrong. We've seen that in the first half. And then in the second half, they had all the confidence in the world. You had Jordan Morris kicking points. Brian McMahon started contributing as well. Joey Wallace was brilliant in the first half, to be fair to him. And, Tomas O'Reilly, who came off the bench, obviously got a point as well. James McEntee as well. So, I mean, it was intriguing. It really, really was. And, there was definitely one stage there where I really did feel like maybe Meath might catch us here. But at the same time, you could tell Meath were tiring. And I think Dublin showed their absolute experience there in the final few minutes to keep the ball and work those three scores. I mean, that was Dublin at their absolute best. They've done that against Mayo in All-Ireland finals. They've done this year after year. That's the absolute experience there. We'll run through a few comments here. Graham Bulger there says can't see Dublin winning. Sam, I mean, I'm not gonna say Dublin aren't gonna win. Sam, at this point, I predicted them to win the All Ireland at the start of the year. Still a lot of quality in that team, but what I would say is that it's gonna be tough this year. It's gonna be, it's definitely gonna go down to the wire. And the biggest worry for me would be the bench. And if you're gonna start Cormac Costello and you're gonna start Dean Rock. The only problem is, like, you look at the bench and you look at the players like Dublin are bringing on. Like looking at the bench in particular, like we brought Colin Baskell on, Sean Bugler, Keane Murphy, and Tom Lahiff. And just looking at the bench in general, there just doesn't look like there's enough options there, in my opinion, coming off the bench. Like, obviously, Kevin McManaman's gone away with the Dublin or the Ireland Olympics team. Paddy Andrews is retired. There's a load of injuries. A lot of players aren't coming back. So there is options in the bench there. Now, there is a very good under-20 team there. And maybe that's what Desi needs to look into. Kieran Archer or something like that would be a good option on the bench at least. I'm not too sure why he's not even in the squad. But Gaming Legend says Meath played well. Dublin, not at the best. Yeah, absolutely not. On fire there says no need to panic. Dublin's game management in the last 7 minutes was superb. First half, they were excellent too. Credit to Meath for plugging away, but this was never in doubt. Yeah, definitely the game management towards the end. You could tell the way Dublin just knocked it around, passing it from side to side, I thought was very impressive. And Dublin were just doing what they do best. That's what they've done when it's come to All-Ireland finals, All-Ireland semi-finals, trying to narrow out a game, see out a game. Like, you see a lot of teams in Gaelic football that probably struggle in seeing out games, like Armagh in particular, Monaghan a little bit as well. But Dublin, they're absolute masters at it. They really, really are. 99 Aguero there says Dublin will struggle if they perform like they did in the quarter-final and semi-final of the Leinster Championship. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely another gear for them to go up on. I mean, look, listen, in the first half, they were brilliant. If they can have that level of performance for an entirety of the 70 minutes, it would be completely different. Like, I still think they definitely still can win the All-Ireland. There's no two ways about it. In the first half, they looked like Dublin at their absolute best. Second half was just really, really uncharacteristic and sloppy, and we'll have to wait and see. Fair play to Meath. Yeah. Look, listen, fair play to them. They've done well. Game of Legend coming back in there. I have to be honest, I think Dublin might struggle against Mayo. Yeah, look, listen, Mayo, I mean, they have to get past Galway first. And I know I would expect them to get past Galway, but there's obviously no Killian O'Connor in there as well. So, I mean, I'm not sure anybody else agreed. The ref had a bit of a shocker. Yeah, one or two contentious decisions, all right. Definitely probably should have been a penalty to Meath early on. One or two other challenges as well. Couldn't agree more. There's no big guns on the bench. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they just aren't there, unfortunately. And I mean, you just wonder why Desi isn't looking into some of the under-20s coming through more. I know that, you kind of want them to have game time. A lot of the under-20s haven't had game time over the past year. The likes of, obviously because of the whole COVID situation, the likes of your Lorcan O'Dell and Ross McGarry's and whatnot. And there's a few good under-20s coming through there. Like, it would be no harm just giving one or two of them a bit of game time off the bench against Kildare. But we'll have to wait and see. Will he be going to the Ulster final in Croke Park in 2 weeks' time? Probably won't be, unfortunately. I think Dubs will bring their A game against Mayo. I don't see Mayo lasting the 70 minutes against them. But see, the thing is, Mayo are a young team as well, and they don't necessarily have the massive firepower coming off the bench. Kerry, on the other hand side of things, have a really great bench, and that could definitely be a problem. It really could, especially if Kerry are bringing players like Killian Spillane and Tony Brosnan and whatnot off the bench. So look, listen, there's a long way to go. First of all, I seen a bit of Kildare and Westmeath earlier. I would still very much expect Dublin to come through Kildare in that Leinster final. But certainly there will be a lot of counties, Kildare, probably Mayo or Galway or whoever comes through that game, will just have a bit more confidence, because in the first half I thought, when Conor O'Callaghan got that goal, Meath's heads dropped. They dropped completely. They were hitting poor wides. Like Jordan Morris was dropping a few chances wide. There was a few uncharacteristic misses from a few of the Meath lads as well. Even at the start of the second half as well, Tomas O'Reilly hit a shot wide and then even started laughing after it. And you could tell Meath just didn't have any confidence. They get themselves a goal. All of a sudden, they've loads of confidence and they're playing like we know how Meath can play. So look, listen, if Kildare can come in with a bit of confidence, start well, start fast, I think they'll put it up to Dublin and they'll give them a good test. But you would ultimately have to feel that Dublin would surely still have enough to come through there. But it is going to be interesting. It really is. But yeah, look, listen, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here in the end. Anyway, fair play to Dublin. They come through, 6 points. For Meath, it's a moral victory to a certain extent, compared to the 25 plus hammering it was last year. And obviously they only scored 4 points against Dublin in 2019. So it's a bit of a moral victory. You still have a long way to go. And obviously with there not being any qualifiers, it's a bit of a shame for them. But I'm sure they'll come back next year. But yeah, look, listen, we'll wrap this up here anyway. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.